Well, apparently the economy and the housing market is one big ticking time bomb. How do I know that? Because about 75% of you guys said so. In fact, I waited about a week to make this video because I wanted to give this last community poll some time to breathe and get some answers, get some of your comments, and get as many votes as possible. And a whopping 8,500 of you voted on this poll. I think that must be a record for my channel. And guess what, guys? 75% of you chose that the economy and the housing market is a ticking time bomb. The other two answers I had on here is everything is better than ever and will be fine. Only 8% of people said that, and 18% said I'm so broke that it doesn't really matter what happens next, which is kind of depressing, but is also probably the reality, unfortunately. And I wanted to make this video because I talk a lot about consumer sentiment on this channel and how the economy is doing overall. And I thought, what better way to take an assessment of the economy than to poll my own viewers and to take some of your own personal opinions and accounts of what's happening in your life today and apply that to the real world and see how does this match up compared to what we're being told. So thanks everybody who voted on this. Thanks everybody who gave your opinion. I'm going to share a lot of your comments here in this video. You know, one other thing to note, guys, is like when I talk about these different surveys on my channel, for example, you talk about consumer sentiment or a housing market survey or an economy survey. A lot of those surveys that are done by professional agencies, a lot of times you only get 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 responses in order to compile that data. And you guys gave me 4 times that at 8,500. So just thank you to everybody who voted on this. Now I wanted to start this off with a positive, which I think is really important considering how dark this might get. So this guy says, give thanks daily for your health and caring family. I could not agree more, guys. Like, no matter how bad things get, just take a step back every once in a while to appreciate everything you do have, because it's probably more than what somebody else has. And you know, there's always something to be grateful for. So I think that's a good message to start this video off with. This person pretty much summed up what I've been thinking and kind of prompted me to make this poll to begin with. They go, everything just keeps getting more expensive. There's no way people can pull money off trees to pay for the higher expenses. Something's got to give. And that's my thoughts exactly. Like, there's really no way that we can continue moving forward, although there are a couple ways, which I'll get into later in this video, that I think could keep this clown show on the road. Now, this is something that I've been questioning over and over again. After I saw Biden's State of the Union address, a lot of you guys didn't seem to like the video I made on that, by the way. But anyways, this person goes, sure, everything looks like it's a ticking time bomb. Will the powers that shouldn't be let it collapse? Now that is a very good point. I'm starting to wonder if they ever will let it collapse, guys, because the more time that passes that nothing happens, and the more they announce additional stimulus programs like we talked about in that video, you know, giving people an extra $400 a month for 2 years to buy houses, different things like that, different ways they can pump money into the economy, they might never let it crash. I'm starting to think that that could be true. The reason why is, you know, even in that State of Union speech, Biden literally outlined several different ways to keep this economy bolstered, and that was just one of them. That's why I like covering this on the channel, because obviously there's nothing we can really do about that, right? There's nothing that we can do about the economy artificially being propped up or home prices being too high or anything like that. But what we can do is discuss this collectively like we're doing right now. And you know, nothing ever hurts as bad when you know it's going to happen or the possibility of it happening. You know, for example, I lost my grandmother a little over a year ago, okay? But I knew she wasn't in good health, and you know, things were kind of heading downhill, and that was probably going to be it. And so just knowing that that was going to happen helped soften the blow. Same thing as if you're in a relationship, right? And you kind of know that your girlfriend's going to leave you, but she hasn't left yet. When it does happen, that softens the blow as well. So I think one thing that people enjoy about this channel is that even though nobody can say for sure when or if any of this stuff is going to happen, just talking about it and being prepared mentally and financially can actually do well for you. And that's what I want here on the channel. You know, as much as people don't like the negativity, some people say all this is bad news or whatever, I disagree, guys, because the more prepared you are for something imminent to happen, the better off you're going to be when it does happen. And somebody else on this same front says, you know, never underestimate the ability to kick the can down the road. And I agree. So far, they've been doing a fantastic job at that. Now, this comment basically sums up how bad inflation has gotten. You can't leave the house today without spending $100. You know, I remember not that long ago, just a few years ago, you could leave the house with only $100 and you could go grab a bite to eat. You could go to the store and buy a couple of things. And also you could top up your gas tank on the way home and exhaust that $100. Now, you need that $100 just for the bite to eat. And that's the reality, guys. That's where things have gone in just the span of about 3.5 years due to inflation. This person goes, I'm paying off my debt before I even try to buy my first home. Doing it for the security of never being homeless again. Keeping that in the front of my mind helps me be patient for when the bubble bursts. No, I think that's very smart, especially from somebody who has been homeless before. This was the #1 tip I gave actually a few days ago for people to survive this recession or get prepared for it, is make sure you're out of debt, guys. Like, you need to make sure you're out, because that debt will just take up such a large portion of your monthly income, and it doesn't give you much room for savings on anything else, and it also doesn't give you room to enjoy your life. So you got to get rid of it. Now, this person's also correct. They say, I think the internet creates higher, more intense exposure to problems that have always existed, and too much of an insight into the lives of those who have a financial advantage or disadvantage over us. This creates a sense of lacking fear, because comparison is the thief of joy. Now, I 100% agree with this, guys. Like, everything, all these problems are amplified. We even talk about these problems all the time here in my videos. And sure, these problems have always existed, but the reality is they have never existed to this magnitude for a couple of reasons. Because #1, global population's higher than ever, so there's more people that have these problems, and there's more people that are millionaires and billionaires than ever at the same time that make it look like everybody's rich. And on the flip side, we also have more debt than ever before. Consumer debt, government debt, that just keeps propelling this whole thing. It actually is worse than ever before, and they are problems that existed before, but it's important to acknowledge that things are worse than ever just from that perspective. When you just look at the sheer volume, the numbers of how much debt we have, how much the national debt is, that's a problem, guys. So yeah, was it a problem before? Sure. But never to this extent is the kind of the point here. So if it sounds extreme when you hear about these things, even here on my channel, it's because it is. It is extreme. We are at extreme levels of debt right now. We're at extreme levels of everything, of unaffordability. It's not an understatement. It's just a reflection of reality. Check this out regarding layoffs. This person was laid off at a tech firm a year ago, and the new job takes a 25% pay cut. Have a big nest egg and prioritizing budgeting and saving until everything comes tumbling down. It's only a matter of time. And this is a really good point regarding layoffs, because a lot of people will write me and say, oh, Michael, the tech layoffs are rampant, but people get new jobs very fast. Well, so what if they get the job fast if you're taking a 25% pay cut? Because that is a significant reduction in salary and is going to have an impact on someone's life. Luckily for this person, they've been doing what I say here on the channel. They have a substantial nest egg saved up, so that layoff or even that 25% cut in pay isn't going to ruin their life. This is a very good assessment of what's going on right here. This guy goes, the current market is not sustainable and needs to pop. This has had a ripple effect on a lot of things. The unintended consequences. Not only have homes double and even quadrupled where I live, but this has made it extremely difficult to find trade and skilled workers. It appears many fled to more affordable areas. When we were getting the estimate for the roof, my husband had asked what new sliding doors would cost. The guy basically told him he no longer has those guys. One guy moved to Canada and a few others moved to Texas, so his company couldn't do it even if they wanted to. The roof took almost a year and a half to have them show up, and after we were on the schedule, the workers that did come were not local. This is the harsh reality of housing continuing to get more expensive. Like, everybody's happy, right? Oh, my home value is up. Let's discuss some of the negatives here. A couple of things I already talked about many times before. Your property taxes and insurance will continue to rise thanks to your higher home value. But besides that, like what this person says, it makes it harder to get things done on your house. If you're not handy and you're not doing all the work on your house yourself, like for example, last time I was in California, guys, I talked to somebody in Mill Valley and they said, you know, it's beautiful up here, but you know, it's very remote It's far away on all these mountain roads, and this is nowhere close to affordable housing, so it's very hard to get workers to come up here and do anything, whether you want to install a pool, or maybe you want to install solar panels up there, or you just need to do some remodeling work or need a handyman. Good luck, guys, because nobody lives close by, and nobody wants to drive an hour, hour and a half to do some job like that. So there are a lot of unintended consequences of housing continue to get more and more unaffordable, and the more unaffordable the area you live in becomes, the harder it's going to be to just get regular things done around the house for a reasonable price. So not only are you going to be gouged on your property taxes and insurance, but if you actually find somebody to come out and do a job on your house, you can better believe it's going to be far more expensive than you anticipated because of all of this. Here's a good example of somebody that would probably want to sell their property but won't or can't due to the current state of affairs. I'm in a golden handcuff situation. Bought the house 8 years ago for $140K on a 4% mortgage. Recent sales in my development, $240K for comparable homes. Want to get out of the HOA community? There is no rush, but alternatives are astronomical and current interest rates are obscene. So this just highlights how this housing market is broken, guys, because there's a lot of people out there like this that would probably love to sell their current property, that got it at a good deal at some point in the past, but are trapped due to their golden handcuffs. So I don't know how many people out there are like this, but I'd be willing to bet probably millions. And it's always good to see people out there who learn from last time. This guy goes, after surviving the Great Recession in 2008 in Florida, I learned so much, especially what not to do. Had to make some serious smart choices since then. Today I am more prepared than ever, which is an amazing feeling. Savings and no debt is a key to a less stressful life. Wow, I couldn't agree more. That's my philosophy as well. That's how I live my life, you know. Try to get rid of as much of it as possible, guys. Get rid of the debt, you know, have savings. Like, you'd be amazed at how much better you're going to sleep at night just by doing those things. Here's a good example of how well you can preserve your wealth if you're invested in real physical assets. This guy goes, I'm glad I invested a large portion of my wealth in gold a long time ago. I am pleased with my wealth measured in gold. Own my house and property free and clear, protect your wealth and hunker down. Now, I love gold and silver, guys. I've talked about that many times here on the channel. It's a cheap asset that a lot of people can get into, even right now. The great thing about owning this stuff, guys, is no matter how much money the government decides to print, it just causes the value of that stuff to go up. So there's never been a time when inflation has outpaced the value of gold and silver. So that's the beauty of owning it, is that you can own something like that and protect your purchasing power. You're not going to get rich off of owning this stuff. This isn't like, you know, investing in the S&P 500 or buying real estate on speculation and getting, you know, a double or triple appreciation in a few years. It's not like that. All it is a guarantee is that the money you put into it today, that when you want to collect that money in the future, you're going to be able to get it back and then some. Now, when I put this up, a few people complained, like, can't there be a more middle ground choice, somewhere between the first option and something a little less severe sounding? We probably are in something in the middle ground right now when it comes to this current economy. I would imagine that's my guess of where we're at. The big question is, which way is the switch going to flip, guys? Like, are we going to end up in something much more severe, or is the government going to come in and save the day and just print our way out of this mess and have inflation run hog wild? I don't know, but that seems to be the more likely scenario the more I start thinking about it. And after hearing Biden's talk the other night, that's probably the most likely thing that they'll do. They'll come in and destroy the US dollar before they let this economy sink. So nobody wants to be responsible for a recession, but it's funny that how many politicians are lining up behind destroying the US dollar. That's kind of funny, actually. But the one ace in the hole they do have is the fact that all governments across the world are doing the same thing. All the governments are printing money to keep things afloat and had a ton of stimulus during the pandemic and all of this. So it's not like the US is unique in this. Now, this one's for all the young guys out there or women trying to get ahead, okay? Either my income is too low or my ability to stick to new habits is helpless. I amassed about $1,000 in savings in silver over a 6-week period watching videos like this, but when I followed up with buying a computer for college and a bunch of entry-grade music production equipment, my emergency savings is down to around $300 now. I hope I can climb back up. $300 worth of those purchases were on credit. of which I have paid 150 of it off, but I need to buy it. Now for young people like this, I would say, look, I've been there, okay? I know what it's like to be 20 years old and broke, guys. I have been there. That was me when I moved to Miami. And the only thing I can tell you with certainty is that if you keep trying, if you don't give up, it will get better. As you get older, you will continue to earn more. You will continue to pay off more debts. You'll continue to have more in savings, and your situation will gradually improve into your 30s, guys, but you have to keep your foot on the gas. You can't give up and go out and do all this doom spending like a lot of younger generations are doing right now, because that's how you're gonna really set yourself back. So as much as it might suck only having 300 bucks in the bank, imagine how good it's gonna feel if you keep on the gas and you have 3,000 in the bank, and then in 10 years from now you got 30,000 in the bank. Like, it can happen, it does happen. You just have to stick with it. Continue to increase your income, continue to pay off your debts, continue to live smart, continue to live below your means and not spend all your money. Even this young guy is smart, you know, buying silver to protect his purchasing power. Young people need to be looking at doing things like this. And by the way, none of this is financial advice, guys. It's just my opinion on things that I do. You can do whatever you want. You can doom spend your way into oblivion for all I care. But I'm trying to just give people a good outline of how you might be able to get ahead one day. This person goes, my belief is the economy is headed for a period of slow growth, with housing being slightly up in most parts of the country, bit down in the previously hot markets. This was not a survey choice. This is my impression. I don't have a financial model to support this. Well, nobody does, but I think that could also be a realistic outcome, guys. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, but I do know that the government has shown that they have the ability to kick the can down the road much longer than any of us thought. And so we could be in this stage right now where we just basically have a lost decade, you know, where all the asset prices just kind of stop appreciating and things stay stagnant for a very long time. And we could even go through a period of stagflation because of it. Because the main problem is this: unless people's incomes continue to rise pretty substantially to support these new prices, or the government comes in and starts doing some sort of universal basic income like we talked about the other day, it's not really possible for the economy to move forward at today's prices, okay? Eventually, people are gonna run out of money, they're gonna run out of debt and purchasing power to keep the spending going like we've been seeing so far. And that's when one of those two things are gonna have to happen, right? People are gonna have to get more free money from the government, or they're gonna have to make substantially more from their job. And if neither one of those things happen, we're headed for big trouble. I think we're headed for big trouble either way, because the government comes in and gives everybody a bunch of free money, guys. Or even if people started making a lot more money, guess what's gonna happen to inflation? It's gonna continue to rise, and everything's gonna continue to get even more expensive than it is now. So none of this is a long-term solution, unfortunately. What they really need to do is just take their foot off the gas, meaning the government and the Fed. The Fed should just leave interest rates where they're at, if not even raise them higher. No more QE, no more stimulus programs, no more giving people $400 a month to buy a house, no more anything, and let it fall down and correct on its own, guys. That's the only true path forward, if you ask me. If I was in charge, that's what I would do. You know, it might be an unpopular choice for some people, but I think it would be the best choice for the long run and the longevity of this country. I just look at it at this point as the right thing to do. This person goes, everyone's driving a brand new Tesla, everyone's buying a $500,000 house, and some are even buying the second home. Everyone has an iPhone 15, the latest Apple Watch, and using the Apple Vision Pro while in the swimming pool. Now, you can definitely thank social media for that one, because that just goes back to the comment earlier that, you know, things that we see now on YouTube and TikTok or wherever can highlight, you know, things that people are doing and make it look like everyone's doing that. Because I assure you, not everyone is going out and buying that Tesla and the $500,000 house, because most people, when you look at the stats, can't afford that stuff. Now, this person perfectly describes how this economy can no longer move forward as is, okay? Rents up, interest rates are up, as well as taxes and assessments for housing. The largest expense for everyone has eaten more of their budget. Further, groceries are over half as much as they were just 4 years ago. Transportation and fuel has risen even more. Many utilities in the home have risen due to infrastructure upgrades. Our basic needs have gobbled up our whole incomes. We cannot justify spending on entertainment and convenience items, which drains profits in much of industry. Add corporations, increase costs in labor materials, causing layoffs. We have a perfect storm for a depression. May God help us all. Now, this is a good description of how things can't keep moving forward, guys. Like, unless they continue printing a bunch of money and give people universal basic income, or people get a 50 to 100% raise over the next couple of years, there's no way this can keep going. And as the spending keeps slowing down, we're already seeing it this year in 2024. The retail sales this year have started this year off really bad, guys. And consumer spending on everything is continuing to go down right now. And the only areas that it continues to go up is when people are using buy now, pay later, or using credit cards to purchase things. And that runs out at some point, is the point that I'm making. And when it does, more and more businesses are not going to have the sales that they used to, which means they fire more people. They don't need as many employees because their sales are down, which makes those people unemployed and not be able to afford life. And it's just kind of a domino effect from there. The less people that have money, now you have more people unemployed that can't go out there and buy things in the economy that they normally would. And the pool of buyers for everything just continues to shrink. The housing market's the perfect example of that right now. You see, the pool of buyers for the housing market is basically at its smallest point that it's ever been because so few people can actually afford to buy a house at these prices. And that's a preview of what we can see just for everything in the economy, guys. Like, you can imagine that's going to be the case for just buying a TV pretty soon, because no one's going to have the extra $500 to buy a brand new TV if so many people are unemployed or stretched to the maximum with how much debt they've already taken out. So this does come to an end at some point, unless the government subsidizes it and gives people more money and just says, yeah, oh, $400 a month. I'm going to give you $2,000 a month. Go ahead. Go buy that new TV. We need to keep this economy juiced. But now, problem is the TV is going to be $2,000 instead of $500. You know what I'm saying? That's where this goes from here. This guy goes, I've decided to stop taking life too seriously. Enjoy the simple things in life. USA is unsustainable. Live with roommates, just do some DoorDash and Uber Eats on the side, make $100 a day, maybe have another easy online side hustle, spend quality of time with your friends and family instead of stressing over this stuff. That's what rich people say they wish they would have done more on their deathbeds. Now, this guy actually has an interesting point, right? Like, instead of going balls out and trying to just do everything as hard as possible right now just to get ahead, this guy's taking the opposite approach. Let me just do what I need to do to squeak by and enjoy the rest of my free time, and I'll just float along life, guys. And I know what that's like because I've been there. Like, I actually did that for a while. After I first started my real estate career, I kind of realized after a couple of years that this wasn't gonna get me rich, okay? Probably not, unless you just got super lucky. So I was just like, okay, all I need to do is make enough to pay my bills, and anything beyond that is just icing on the cake, you know? It was nice because I had some free time, you know? I realized that I don't need to be out working every single day, showing houses and stuff like that. I can just, you know, not have any clients today and be okay with that because I paid my rent. You know what I mean? Like, I know what it's like to be in that mindset. And I'm not saying this is the right way to live life, because everybody's way to live it is going to be different for everybody. And I think this is more of a phase for some people. It was a phase for me until I kind of snapped out of it and realized I wanted more than to just, you know, squeak by. And I found a new balance here with YouTube, which I'm happy with. This person says what I think a lot of us are feeling right now. The economy is worse than we know. They tell us all is fine and dandy, but that's what they want us to think. Look at all the closed businesses in cities like San Francisco. Now, I do think that we are definitely being lied to, and they try to tell us that things are better than they really are. But I don't think San Francisco is a good example, because they have made, you know, hundreds of terrible policy decisions in San Francisco to turn it into the dump that it is right now. But guess what? They're starting to turn it around, actually. Finally starting to crack down on crime over there. The police are finally allowed to arrest people again. And they're starting to drug test welfare recipients. That's something they should be doing nationwide, guys. So maybe San Francisco's just had enough of the BS, and they're starting to turn things around over there. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen from that. Now, on the economy and how good it is, how about this? Me and my wife are living in upstate South Carolina. Our household income is around $75,000 a year, which is above the median for South Carolina. We own our house with no mortgage. Our cars are paid off too, no kids, and we find it difficult to pay off credit cards or save money. I can't understand how people live on a median income with the rent or mortgage, car payment, and kids, and all the other expenses. Well, the answer is they don't. They continue to borrow, or their parents give them money. You know, that's the real answer of what's happening, guys. That's why there are so many extremes with what's happening right now. And we know that people are buried in debt. Go take a look at my video from a couple days ago, guys. I outlined in there, in the last quarter of 2023, people spent $1.1 trillion just to service debt from all different types of household debt. We're talking mortgage debt, credit card debt, student loan debt, auto loans, you name it. 1.1 trillion was spent nationwide, a new record. And this year in 2024, we're poised to hit multiple records as the quarters go by. So to answer how people are making it on the median incomes, they're not. They're leveraged to the hilt and borrowing more than ever. That's the reality. This guy says, I picked the everything is better option, but not for the reasons you might think. Asset prices are better because I firmly believe that the value of the US dollar is deteriorating, could be the beginnings of hyperinflation. If you have assets, then good for you, you are benefiting. If you don't have assets, then please consider getting into something you think might be good for you to hold on to for future stability. Maybe gold, silver, Bitcoin, if you can afford to. We are in a ticking time bomb, but I feel like the Fed will bail the market out since the government cannot afford a recession. That's exactly it, guys. There's this growing consensus, and Biden kind of confirmed this at his State of the Union address. This administration is currently prepared to bail out the economy, guys. And I'd be willing to bet, even if Trump gets elected, I don't care who's the next president, they would do the same thing. It's not just this administration, it's going to be all future administrations, most likely. And having assets does benefit you greatly right now, That's why one of my tips to weather this recession to people was, invest in something you believe in, whether it is gold, silver, or Bitcoin, or if you want to buy real estate right now, that's your choice, guys. Like, buy something that you can hang on to for a long time, and that's going to be an affordable investment to make. Obviously, real estate is not an affordable investment to make, but it is a time-tested asset. Like, for example, even if you bought today with these high prices, there's a good chance in 10 to 15 years from now, that property will have not only maintained its value, but have possibly even gone up in value. This guy goes, stacking cash to the rafters while holding appreciating assets with eyes and ears on YouTube channels like yours, my friend. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that endorsement. And clearly people like this that are even doing well and have cash up to the rafters still know that it's important to be in the know, guys. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm keeping you in the know of what's happening. The truth is not always pretty, and in most cases today, it's actually downright ugly. But knowing those truths can put you ahead financially tremendously compared to other people that just want to bury their head in the sand and do nothing about anything and just keep doing the traditional stuff that might not be working anymore. Even me, guys, like, my goal for the longest time was to buy several real estate investment properties to the point where they were bringing in enough money where I wouldn't have to go to work anymore, okay? Just live off of my real estate investments. Well, I'm no longer trying to do that right now because the numbers just don't make sense. Maybe there are places in the country that you can still buy property that do work and can fit that criteria, but I would rather just wait. You see all these problems with commercial real estate right now, how much things have already come down with that, and I would be looking at, large multifamily buildings to do that, a place where you can get 15, 20 units, right? And stuff like that is crashing right now in price. So it's better to wait it out and get a better deal on it in the future. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not saying I might never do it in the future, but I'm just not doing it right now because the assets that I want to buy are coming down in price. If you want to invest in residential real estate, that's also tricky because even though the prices haven't really been crashing in most places right now, it's so expensive that you can't make the numbers work as an investment. So that's really the real problem with that. So like this guy said, stacking cash to the rafters and looking for opportunity is where it's at right now. I'm doing the same thing. So once again, thanks to everybody that helped make this video. It's because of you guys I was able to put this together to begin with. Thanks for all your comments and your votes. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.